Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We will be getting started here in just a minute. Thanks for being here. Hello to all the participants that are logging in here today. We appreciate you being here. We will get started in just a minute. All right, I think we're ready to get started. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you here with us today to talk about optimizing digital shelf primary images. Quickly, before we get started, we will take care of a couple of housekeeping items. First, this event is being live captioned by 3Play Media. To access the captions, click on the closed caption icon on the bottom of your screen in the Zoom dashboard. Second, we will leave time at the end for question and answer. So if at any time throughout the presentation you have a question, just drop it into the Q&A box, also in the Zoom dashboard at the bottom of your screen. All right, thank you for joining us today. My name is Bridget Ling. I am the VP of Marketing here at RAZR. RAZR is a marketing technology company. We are based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we leverage three things: behavioral science, our own configurable technology platform, and creative and strategic services teams to influence consumer decisions in the financial services, healthcare, and CPG spaces. And we use our product Iris. And Iris is used to optimize product detail pages for our clients. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So like I mentioned, we're talking about optimizing digital shelf primary images for better e-commerce conversion. And we are really lucky to have two of the experts of the experts here today to talk about this with us. I'd like to introduce Lynn Neal, RAZR's Global Practice Officer. Prior to RAZR, Lynn spent 33 years at Procter & Gamble, leading their behavioral science activation for P&G brands and retailers. Thank you, Lynn. And I'd like to introduce Jay Tennell, who is the e-commerce specialist at RAZR. He is our subject matter expert on all things organic e-commerce retail shopping experience. Thanks for being here, Jay. Lynn and Jay, it's all yours. I'll see you at the end for Q&A.
Great. I really appreciate it, Bridget. Thanks for handing it off to us. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. It's a fun topic to talk about on these tips. We're actually going to start with a little quiz on your part. We have two questions for you. The first question we have is, what percent of CPG is currently purchased online? We're going to give you four choices here: 10%, 20%, 40%, or 60%. Now, we're going to pop up a poll right here, and you guys make your choice, okay? We'll just take 2 or 3 seconds to do this. Okay? Everyone click in, get their choice. Okay. I see a little of the preferences here. Okay, got it. Well, ding, ding, ding. The real answer is, it is 10%. 10% that's bought online. Now, what's interesting about this is this number has actually doubled in the last few years, certainly accelerated by COVID and the advent of technology capabilities. But what it also says to you is that 90% of CPG is not bought online. It's bought in retail. So why is this so important to us? And that leads us to the next question. What percent of CPG purchases are influenced by online or digital? Same choices here in the answer box. Let's bring up the poll and take a look. Which one do you think it is? Everybody had a chance? Okay, you guys kind of get the gist of it. 60% of CPG purchases are influenced by online. So even if we're primarily purchasing in the brick and mortar retail environment, the online experience really matters, whether people are buying it directly from online or whether they're influenced by what they see online. I mean, this means that a fundamental shelf presence has to be true. We have to make everything work in the right environment. And you just take a look at these two examples here. Same product, right? Same package? Yeah, some changes have been made. And this is a brand being real astute to where they need to have on the physical shelf in store and then what they need to have on their digital shelf in store. I'm fortunate to be joined by Jay Tennell today, and Jay's going to lead us through these important 7 tips.
Awesome. Thanks, Lane. So with that, let's jump into it. Here are the 7 tips to optimize primary or hero images for your e-commerce PDP. And we're going to do it without compromising the in-store experience. All right, let's start by looking at 8 primary images on an Amazon search page. Now, which products jump out to you most? Because tip number 1 is be seen and leverage contrast. Are you going to change your answer? Let's run it through our Human Vision AI software. We can see that Kingdom Pets, the product on the upper right, has a lot of attention, as well as the 2 True Chews packaging. Now let's see how the order of these images would be seen at a quick glance. It would start here. Quick glance at the eye would go left and then right and then drop down. But what if you're full moon? That's the packaging on the lower left. It has white packaging on a white search page. So the contrast is lacking. Thankfully, we worked with the team to develop a quick pivot on an alternative solution to the primary image. Here's a quick optimized version. And we're leveraging the bold orange that's seen on the left of the packaging. So we're exposing that with a 45-degree turn, and we even bolded the cage-free chicken icon that's on the right of the package. So quick adjustments made a little bit more of an impact for contrast.
And Jay, I want to make sure I'm understanding right here. You're not telling everybody to go student body right and go over to dark packaging, but I think it is that brands should have their eyes open on what it really means to be, in the storefront on a digital page. So if you are predominantly white packaging and you have this bleed, you might have the opportunity to do a creative tilt, just like you've seen on this full moon packaging. And what that does is really help our instinctive eye get drawn to it a little more. But I think you also mentioned about darkening up the chicken icon. So maybe on your package, you have an element that might be more recessive, and maybe it's a key element to identify your product, whether it's the brand name, a key visual, or in this case, that chicken icon. Dialing up the contrast right there just might let you advantage yourself a little bit in the context of all these other packaging.
Definitely, good builds on. Let's jump to tip number 2. Let's take a look at this Oscar Mayer example. How well do you think this packaging works as a primary image? So odds are you're on desktop, but how well do you think it works on mobile? The mobile screen is the toughest image test. So tip number 2 is mobile first mentality. So let's see how Oscar Mayer took this package to a mobile optimized primary image. And we're going to break it down for you. Start by scrapping the unreadable text. Now, we're not saying that these claims are not important. If anything, they're vital to the PDP, but they don't quite fit here. When we think about the purpose of the primary image, it's displaying just enough information to pull the shopper from the search page to the product detail page. And then with other elements, we can convey more information. Second, increase the sizing legibility. This is really important. We want to make sure that the shoppers see this and it's really clear. We want to increase the font size on essential language. Think about your packaging as general, vital spatial real estate. You try and do too much and some things get lost in the mix. So drop the rest of the small, unreadable text. It might just be a distraction for the shopper. Let's look at that mobile optimized version. Deli fresh mesquite smoked turkey breast, family pack, 16 ounces. That's it. Now, let's compare it to the starting package.
Oh, what a stark change you see right here. And you can see how the package on the left would work on the physical shelf, but that mobile first mentality lets you take it down to its base forms. And you can see Oscar Mayer made some great choices here, even dialing up their brand, get the brand, get the variant or the segment right. What I also love about this, and they may have had some insight on their primary package, is that the value of this package might not have been coming through on their physical shelf. So bringing that 16 ounces down into the right, that's down at one of our finish areas when we're naturally navigating through the package. And it actually really communicates the value and contents of the package, which sometimes can be difficult to do online. This is a great before after example of mobile first mentality.
Yeah. Let's jump to the third one. All right, we're going to take a look at this gain example. Now, right after the Oscar Mayer example, you might think there's a lot happening out here on this package. Let's focus on the lower third. There's a lot of legal warnings here. So tip number 3 is play nice with legal. Let's see what the Gain brand team did alongside their legal team to compromise on a better primary image for e-commerce PDP. Again, we're just focusing on the lower third. There's a lot of warning and legal content. But when we compare it to the mobile optimized primary image, we can see they took that space and really just focused 112 packs. They cleaned up all the distractions that we talked about earlier. They also took some opportunity to increase the size of the pod on the right side of the package, as well as the branding with a little bit more contrast as well.
Yeah, it looks like they took some of the same application we saw in the Oscar Mayer, but I think the legal nuances are interesting here. And like you guys, we've all worked with legal when we're managing our brands and trying to have the best consumer presence. And what I hear you saying here, Jay, is it's play nice. Talk with them as partners on your team. And you can almost see how that came to life here, right? I'm seeing those keep out of reach of children and avoid contact with the eyes icons. You know, those didn't change in emphasis. They did not change in size or color. They're meeting some legal standard, I'm sure. But the brand obviously worked with the legal team to make sure, let's meet those guidelines, but let's place them in a place where we're meeting the guidelines, but also trying to create an uninterrupted flow with brand recognition, variant recognition, and sending our value on the 112 packs. So I think it's a great example of, you know, how some behind the scenes conversations can be productive and do the right thing for the shopper, but also make sure we're meeting whatever legal requirements are required on the package, even in the digital space.
Absolutely. Let's jump to tip number 4. All right, we're sticking with the detergent theme here. Well, let's take a look at Tide. So in the big picture of e-commerce, there's a lot of wasted dollars here. When we think about the empty space in the handle and above the cap, the brand is paying for air in fulfillment. So tip number 4 is actually rethink that physical packaging. We're going to jump to the Tide EcoBox. Now, this isn't anything that's really new, but it still does a really great job when we're thinking about the primary image. 96 loads on the upper right, claims and callouts throughout are legible and simple. They do also a really great job of showing the product usage on the bottom right. And then also when we think about with the spatial real estate that we mentioned earlier, there's more opportunity for the brand to use more surface area across the space to communicate better to shoppers. Let's do a side-by-side.
Yeah, obviously you can still see that it's the same product. It is important that they gave that dispenser a visual cue over there. And I guess there's the obvious benefit of that is, okay, here's how you're going to dispense the product. But I think it's important to call out something here when we do convert over to this eco-friendly boxing right here. Tide, for example, might have such strong equity, and with that jug, the shopper's just kind of glued into it. And what will happen is that the shopper's mind will sort of make the story true, whether it is or not. So if you have an eco box and you show a jug of Tide, some shoppers might think, all right, this is the package I'm going to receive in the mail, but it's going to be a box that has a jug of Tide inside of it. All right, it can happen. So one of the great things that the brand does here is not only, you know, illustrate their product so that you know that this is the Tide you can trust, but by showing that dispensing mechanism on the side, they let people know how to use it, and they let people know this is the primary package. There's not going to be a jug inside of here. Great work by the brand.
Tip number 5. So let's shop for some Luden's cough drops on mobile. Now we can tell that it's Luden's Wild Cherry, but we can't quite make out how many are in the package, because this is a photo of the actual product. There's a shimmer from the flash, and it's wrinkled, and it's almost like damaged looking. So tip number 5 is scrap the photo for a rendering. Let's jump to a rendering. Great. So those mechanical print files that we're using as a base here are going to be a cleaner, better experience for a primary image. Also, this can be done even before packaging is in production, which is going to help your e-com team move faster on products, new products. This is a pretty simple example, right? But if we think about rendering, using a rendering, it sets the base for setting up for success on more complicated items like multi-packs. Let's jump to this bounty example. Okay, now this is definitely a third-party image. It's not from the brand team, but just work with me here. We can definitely tell that there's more than one paper towel, but we can't really tell if there's more than two. We can't quite make out the numbers on the top yellow banner because it's on the packaging, and we can't see anything behind those first two products. But if we go to the rendering, we can see the brand team did a really good job of making sure both of those things are clear, not only in the yellow banner, but the products actually stacked diagonally upper right as well.
This is a great way to actually enhance your value proposition as well. Just like we saw in Oscar Mayer, where they pumped up that 16 ounce and made sure that was really bold. But when people are seeing it two-dimensionally, they can understand the value on the Oscar Mayer. And here's what Bounty's doing to make sure you understand the value proposition. If you're like me, sometimes you go for a CPG online and you see this big price point, and it's because it is a bulk buy or a multi-pack. So from a shopper clarity standpoint, just recognizing the value, that little three-dimensional cue says so much in an image that would take a lot of words to say. I can imagine there's some efficiency for the brand as well. If they have a 10-pack or a 12-pack, then it's just simple to adjust this rendering, and all you have to change is that yellow bar on the front, and you're good to go. Nice execution here.
Definitely. Lots you can do as soon as you go with the rendering.
Yep.
Let's go to tip number 6. All right, so we have a Barilla pasta package rendering here. We've covered 5 tips so far. So what are we going to do? A GMO emphasis, ingredients, contrast, size? I don't know. So tip number 6 is test and learn. Let's take a look at version A. We increased the product window size and focused on the sizing on the bottom of the packaging. But version B is going to be different, but still similar. Emphasis on the protein plus, as well as the key claim 100% plant-based protein. So which one's more effective? Simply put, we don't know. There's no silver bullet to this. Test and learn, test it for your brand and your category and see what works best. Focus on that glance view metric where shoppers are converting from search to your PDP. Try and isolate variables when testing, like out of stocks and promotions, etc.
This is a great tool to use it that way. I also want to make sure that folks listening in understand we're not encouraging anyone to be schizophrenic with your brand. So what I like about these 2 examples is there's no mistaking that it's Barilla and it's their protein plus line. Okay, they're not doing major shifts in that equity, which could actually cause shopper confusion. But what they're actually doing is utilizing the medium and see if we might be able to enhance with the flexibility that we have some of these renderings, some of our key features or differentiating points. And the brand in doing so isn't going to lose that traction with the shopper looking for Barilla Protein Plus, but might be able to identify some key, online features that cause more interest or cause a deeper dive or cause better closure. So certainly ways to safely practice with some versioning, but be mindful that you don't tip that line and cause an unintentional issue with too many changes that make the brand less recognizable for your core shopper.
Yeah. All right, last tip. Let's take a look at this Tresemme example. Now, it goes against some retailer guidelines because it's not that front of package only, but shampoo, 28 ounces, this is helpful information. So this is a mobile-ready hero image. You've probably seen these. This is it came from a Cambridge University study alongside Unilever to develop a better shopping user experience. But the retail requirement is just to show front of pack only, but we know there's better methods. Tip number 7 is push the brand and pull the retailer. Let's take a look at a goldfish example. Technically, this goes against guidelines, right? Depends on the retailer, but it has great communication on multi-pack expectations. There's goldfish swimming in the upper left of the packaging. That's similar that you would see in commercials and ads. There's a block of cheese in the bottom right, but they're the #1 bestseller in their category right now. Retailers, consumers, and brands are all winning with a better primary image. So brands, share and test your learning with retailers.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay, I think you mentioned something, important there on this isn't really a super aggressive pull. We're kind of nudging them forward, right? It's not to buck up against some of the requirements here, but the good news is that retailers and brands have, a shared objective here is to have the best retail environment for the shopper, and that's going to be to make shopping easy, instinctive, help people in that system one mode to make decisions, and do it with clarity. And so when brands learn things along the way, or if you have a Cambridge study, what a great way to apply it at your brand and then bring the retailer along with you. I would also recommend you might look at in your categories or others and see examples that you have out there where some may have stretched the retail requirement a bit for the betterment of the shopping experience. Those are great things to tap into and surface for your retailer.
Yeah. All right, that's it. These are the 7 tips for optimizing digital shelf primary images. Feel free to take a screenshot.
I know no one screenshot along the way, right? Okay, but you can definitely do it right now.
Awesome. Jay and Lynn, this is so great. Thank you. We do have a couple questions that are sitting in the queue. If anybody else wants to add questions in, now's your chance, because we do have a few minutes. So let me take a look at the first question, which is, how far is too far for adjustments on packaging changes?
Yeah, I would just say, just be really conscious of like what the actual packaging looks like. Kind of looked at all the examples we have. They're all kind of, we compared it back, did a side by side. So it should almost be, yeah, at a quick glance, you might not notice, but yeah, just be conscious of packaging.
Yeah, I'd say the only 2 cents I'd add on it is make sure your brand is still recognizable. I mean, that's what's critical almost. We all have these stored images in our brain of what our brand looks like or what any brand looks like, and you want that recall to come really fast. Now, beyond that, you want to make sure you're getting your variant clear. If you got multi choices in there, and then lastly, what are your key differentiating features on that SKU or that ASIN? For example, going back to that 16 ounces on the Oscar Mayer, it was clear that they need to make sure folks understood that was a family pack, so they brought that to the forefront without diluting that brand recognition.
No, great, thank you. Another question here, noting that the examples that we've talked through today were mostly CPG or grocery. The question is, are there other categories such as healthcare or beverage and alcohol that have different set of considerations?
Yeah, it's definitely not, we're not doing legal advice, right? So just how we would say, work with your legal team. Categories are all going to be different. But look at the competitors, look at the category and see what others are doing in the space.
That's great. Yes, I love the legal qualifier, Jay. We're making sure we're staying on safe ground here, so we don't put anyone in legal trouble. I mean, guys, when you take a look at some of our examples here, there's certainly products we've worked on. A lot of them happen to be, with Procter & Gamble as well. I think they have a lot of research in this space. They're a leader in a lot of categories in CPG. So you might do that in the categories you participate in. If you're the leader, there might be some primary research, that you can do in this space on figuring out the way to go. If you're not that category leader, you might look in the industry and see what those big players are really doing that might have a little more investment in this space behind the moves that you see them making online.
Sure. Search for good case studies. Absolutely. We have one more question. So if anybody else in the audience wants to throw one in the Q&A, please do so now. The next question is, I don't think our brand has digital renderings of files. So where do you suggest we start?
So it depends, but you definitely do. If you got the packaging files, you can take those print files, the mechanical files, and work those into the renderings. So good place to start.
Okay, great. Well, that is all the questions that we have for today. So Jay and Lynn, thank you so much for being here today to talk with us about PDP optimization. If you are interested in learning more about how Iris can help you assess your PDP approach, strategy, and images, reach out to Jay and Lynn directly. Their email addresses are here. They'd be happy to talk with you further about this. And please note that our webinar today has been recorded and we will be sending via email, so you'll be able to share it from here as well. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. We look forward to seeing you at a future webinar event.